like the rubber ones do. They're disposable. I thought I was like missing out, so I just tried some new rubber ones, and they weren't as good. The nice thing about these is they don't get slippery, and you put them back, and then they bite onto them a little bit, and they dent the surface, and it holds them in place. So. Let's see if we can get a little bit of rubber dam seal around this. I started using Cool Dam because it's a requirement for making a platform for gentle wave, but since I've just realized this is the most amazing sealant we've ever used for rubber dams, so much better than, I don't know, there's a caulk, can't remember who makes it, but it always gets kind of goopy at the end. This stuff sets up really well, and it's very robust. It stays intact usually the entire procedure if you get it on dry. Now we should have scrubbed section of the distal. Oh wait, don't get it up. Yeah, let's not get up in this section yet. Can I have a cotton roll? Okay. And one of my favorite toys of all time, the Sapphire Plus Plasma Arc Curing Light by Denmat. This is a commercial, little commercial excerpt here. I'll be honest with you. This thing rocks. Okay, so you guys do bonding all day long, right? So you're spending 3 times as long to cure your stuff for why? This takes 10 seconds. Yeah, I can't work without it now, and I'm just an endodontist using this goop here. So I wouldn't do resto without it. Let's see how that turned out. Oh, not too bad. Okay, so let's go back and review the anatomy, because this is a wild case. I love the anatomy here. Here we go, blown out distal. I need to go to here. This is TDO's software management program. It's a digital charting piece of software. It's really nice at managing images. Okay, so here's the big event in this tooth. It's this MB palatal complex. Here's an MB1. Here's the MB2. I would swear there's a mid-mesial, a mid-MB there, 1 or 2 of them. Let's zoom it just a little bit more. I have no idea why this thing is doing that, but. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, this one for sure, this one for sure, and it's in the same root as the palatal. Let's go over here and look at the axial view. I was so impressed. Who is it that has the CT that uses it on every case? Impressed. There are a bunch of endodontists that don't have their act together on that. To have a machine in your office and not take a CT of somebody before you're going to do a root canal, that's ridiculous. It's a standard of excellence, but to have it and not use it is below the standard of care, in my opinion. It's an odd little controversy. Okay, so here's that bizarre root. Wait for it. Look at that. Look at that thing. That's ridiculous. Okay, so I've got everything from a whole straight across isthmus there 2, 1, 2, 3. You can see each of those 4 portals we were looking at from the mesial. Distal buccal, no big deal. Palatal, really, and the MB2 orifice is 1 millimeter away from the palatal orifice. So you don't know where you're going to find along there. If you have a CT, you'll know. But if you're looking at conventional imaging, you won't know. You have to find out after you get inside. Okay. He practices in Santa Barbara. Bless him. And his children, yes.
You okay there?
Mm-hmm.
So it's got a big fat MB1. That's pretty straightforward. I intentionally didn't put any instruments into canals. I still have a pulp in the MB1. Yeah. I know, right? You would have been horrified to know there's still a pulp in there, right? She was in severe pain. And I left her tooth open. The report in was how to feel after the anesthetic was worn off. Aces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you leave teeth open when you can't finish the case, you will not see your patients until they need to finish. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to use a Buck 1 to smooth that little ledge I have on the palatal line angle. Also, I've got to get some kind of an access discrimination between these 2 orifices. Watch, please. Okay, and what's the test? The test is, can I put an explorer or a file in the line angle at the cavo surface and drop that little guy perfectly and smoothly into the canal? And the answer is yes, we can for that one. The MB2 is not quite there yet. If you guys are wondering about my antique microscope, this is the predecessor to the Pro Ergo, called the Pro Magnus. That was when they thought ENTs had more money than endodontists. Then it became an endodontist tool. Yeah, what most dentists don't realize is the people who decide which instruments we get to use are mostly the companies. There's a file design I saw 8 years ago that'll cut a shape in a small molar canal in 6 seconds in one fell swoop. Yeah, have you seen that one? Nope. Here we go. Okay, so here's the MB2 way over there. Let's see if I can get, first maybe I can get an orifice widener in there right now. That'd be pretty cool, but I'm not sure, I don't think the angle is right. Let's see if I can do it. If not, I'll have to come back in with it.
A different setting for them?
For this, yes. It's a little tricky to get the angle here.
Wider, please?
This is a tough mirror angle to get. I'm going to use a longer file. This is a short orifice widener. I'm going to use a 1306 traverse just because I need a little bit more length, I think, to get into that thing. Let's find out here. Second molars are so much fun. Okay, I think I got it in there. Let's see if it wants to go into the canal. It is. Yeah, let's look at the flutes and see where the file cut. Okay, interesting. I cut about between 2 and 4 millimeters back. And that's exactly where I expect to cut because I'm right at the orifice. Now you know from this right here, this MB2 has a bend in it that's about 50 degrees right there. So that's why we didn't head any further in. Now that I got a little centering for my file, it's going to be easier for me to get my ultrasonic back in there and keep that ultrasonic prep on center, because that's not that easy. Using the ultrasonic before you can get a file in there, you have to sometimes, but if you just miss it a little bit, now you've created this perfect path to the wrong place. Yeah, I love that. So. Right, already opened it up a little bit, that's nice. Do you guys like the heads up? It's not bad, is it? I've never felt car sick. In the early 3D stuff, you would like want to throw up after about a half hour. But they've got the, that's a function of the frame rate that they've gotten up. So there's no ghosting patterns. I like having both mirror sizes on my handle. You obviously want the bigger one when you can fit it in there, but I like not having to pick up a different mirror. Okay, so there is the orifice. This tip may be about to break. No, the reason I'm saying that is they will become less active. They will look normal on the outside. If they suddenly quit cutting at the same power setting, it's just it's already separated inside, and the mechanical or the metallurgical structure is goofed. Having bent DG16s is hugely helpful for molars. This will get me into that orifice so much easier than a straight Explorer because they're all curving as they come in. This one actually may be a little bit straighter. It's actually rare. Great. We don't have, I think I've taken most of that angle out. I'm going to see if I can get an LA diamond burr in there. That would be heaven. Because I know as hard as it is to find that thing with my negotiating instruments, it's going to be harder to get a paper point and a gutta-percha point in it. Yeah. You may find yourself satisfied with your access until you get to obturation, cone fitting. Never hesitate to just put the cones away and just touch it up a little bit. The smallest change and improvement can be the difference. This is at 10,000 RPM versus 40,000. This is a W&H handpiece. Okay, at least I'm in the right spot. It's not fully developed. I'd like to have a groove that leads to that. If I can get that done, then this MB2 becomes a pretty normal challenge. I just need this room for a little bit of time. I'm not going to make you open this wide. Just give me a little bit more if you could. Oh, thank you. All right, almost there. Okay. I'm going to use, and this is at 1/4 power. I'm going to use it to tune up the entry to the palpable. I've got a little undercut there from a pulp horn. It's not much of one, but one thing that Gentle Wave doesn't like is it doesn't like you to leave little pulp horn roof remainings. Okay, that's what my accesses look like when I'm going to be happy the rest of the procedure. Let's see if we can get that distal buckle. The MB, I think I probably just need to touch it once and we're good. MB1. At full RPM, this burr is too long to operate that. It starts getting a little eccentric and it's going to cut a bigger shape than you want. So I highly recommend the lower RPM. And if you're an electric handpiece, you're going to get the same. There we go. So what I told you earlier today is you want this thing to just countersink the orifice in the small canals. That might be just a millimeter too long in the MB1 there. Let's see what we need to do in the DB. This DB line angle is going to be important because I'm going to have to platform and build that missing distal wall before I can do my Gentle Wave procedure. Not that hard though. We did all kinds of trials with glass ionomer cement and air abrasion and bonded composites. They all blew out. That's because that stuff takes hours to cure. It's not a seal until hours go by. So we found out the thing that worked better than anything else we tried was this blue goo. It's Cool Down. They sell it as Sound Seal now by Gentle Wave, but it's a great product. All right. All right, this is the fun part. Well, I mean for us, not for you. What do you think I am? Entertainment center? Okay, let's have a little bit of lube. So, to review the reasons we use lubricants during negotiation. A, because they stabilize our apex locator reading even when there's no metallic restorations in place. Hypochlorite is okay in the canal, but not in the pulp chamber. All these apex locators work with conductive fluids in the canal, not in the pulp chamber. So, also hypochlorite doesn't kill bugs until there's a space down there, so nothing's happening in terms of antibacterial activity, and it will not prevent you from apical blockage in a vital case. So we never, ever use sodium hypochlorite during negotiation procedures. There's absolutely no up. This is where the Traverse files
1306.
shine. Yeah, let's use the 1306. We've got it set on 300. Lowest torque limit, it's about 2.5 Newton centimeters. We're going to see if this is one of those cases where the conductive on-off switch works, which is really brilliant. Let's check it out now, because when it can sense a signal, it turns on by itself. Oh, I love that. Okay, pull it out, it turns off. I'm ready to clean the flutes and look at them. So what am I doing when I pull it out? I look at the flutes to see where the debris is being created. That tells me a lot about the file. This file tip has not touched Denton yet in a serious way. It's from here to here. And then I clean it off and I look at the flutes. Are there any deranged flutes? The answer is no. I'm going to go ahead and put it back in there. Turn to the right for me. A little bit more. This is distal buccal canal.
What lubricant?
I'm sorry?
What lubricant are you using? If you're not using sodium hypochlorite?
This is any lubricant works. This is Pro Lube. I like it because it's a little single dose dispenser. RC Prep. You can use glyoxide. You can use glycerin. You can use surgical jelly. Yeah. The main thing is that it's a turn to the right. Yeah, that is so cool that it turns on. And when it gets there, okay, now look, I'm closer to the end of the file. I've actually got a little bit of something on that last flute. That's kind of good because it may be only this one file that I need in the whole shaping and instrumentation of this distal buccal canal. Okay, getting close to length. I heard a little beeping there. If this doesn't make it to length in this time, let's check and make sure there's some lube in there. I need lube. Thanks. Turn to the right. A little bit more. Thank you. I need to turn her to the sideways for this view because I've got to see where this stop is relative to the reference point. And I'm meeting an impediment. So let's put a little 15 or an 08K file in there and see what happens. What length? Okay. Do I have an estimate for this canal?
For the NB,
Distal buccal.
17 1/4.
Okay. She's going to hold this up. This is now my apex locator, right? It's very cool that I have a hand probe here that I can just immediately put a hand file in. Okay, I'm short. I'm meeting a classic impediment. And this is a distal buccal canal of an upper molar. They go like this all the time. So you guys lucked out. You got a great case here. Where's the endo bender plier? Oh, here we go. This is the gold thing. No, the worst time I have, the better it is for you. Let's be honest. Yeah, nobody needs to see a magic act. That's like, oh, you're going to go home and do the magic act.
Keep your hand down. I'll go.
Great. Turn to the right. Thank you. Okay, here's the file bend. Got my stop set. So I'm going to avoid dinging it on the edge of that tooth. Cool. Here we come. I'm going to meet the impediment right about here. It's not going anywhere, so I pull back. I'm going to try it more to the distal. Nope. More to the mesial buccal. I think it just dropped. Let's see what the apex locator says. Ah, I'm long. Is that like the best? Yeah. Yeah. I own the root canal now, right? Yeah, it's mine to lose. Okay, so let's get this set up. It's a little bit long. Okay, so distal buccal is going to be referenced to the palatal cusp tip, as will almost all the other canals in this tooth. I'm going to adjust this. I'm going to confirm that I haven't moved the file in the canal. One of the great things about using this, okay, we're exactly at length. So, distal buccal canal by the palatal cusp tip. Lengths without reference points are meaningless. You need high points, not flat surfaces to reference to. Nobody says a reference surface. They say a reference point. Here we go. Okay, this is at 21.5 millimeters. Yep, okay. I'm going to go back and see where that impediment is. We'll measure our length to the impediment. Because I don't think that impediment's going to go away. and it's just, as so many of them are, it's a 1/2 millimeter from the terminus. So I just need to not engage it and goof it. I might be able to get a file bent around it and open that up a little bit, but for right now, that's not important. So let's put the file back in there, make sure that we're getting to that depth.
Set at 21.
Okay. There we go. Okay. Got the shape I need. Let's go into the MB1. Big canal. And a little trick you can use if you're in molars and you're having trouble getting back behind the molar and getting the file forward, these don't have shape memory, so bending against them will push the file mesially, if I can get it in the right spot here. And once you get the tip of it in, you're good. The rest of it's going to follow. Okay, there's my length in the mesial buckle 1. No, I'm a loser. No. Hey, you know what? I live for danger. No, that's the fun thing about this is like almost nobody knows about this, but it's the biggest advance in rotary endo in 25 years. We don't have to put hand files in there. And when I show you the video on what we're seeing in these isthmus blocks, when you see the hand file in there, there's junk everywhere. And as soon as the rotary file comes in, it starts planing and augering stuff out of there. Rotary files are better than hand files for most everything. So it's a little bit different than we've been taught, but so
What's the length?
that length is 21 and a half.
That you would use for reciprocating handpiece as just a traditional rotary handpiece?
Pardon me?
For the motor, it would be the same.
It's just
handpiece
rotary.
with reciprocating handpieces versus a traditional rotary handpiece?
I'm not going to use a reciprocating handpiece. Yeah, I don't want to push debris apically. And they eliminate my tactile sensitivity. People think you don't have tactile feedback from a rotary file. It's super smooth if it's rotary. You have a lot of feedback from that. But when it's going like, tick, 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 you can't feel anything at all. So, and you know, I'm a fussy guy, so I'm not saying it doesn't work. Great for everybody. It's the leading file, you know, in the world. That means they spent the most marketing money on it, and it was a huge success.
And your reference point, MBCT?
That was MBCT, yes. Yeah. Okay, I have that little path there to the MB2. How helpful was that? Now this little guy is tiny. I'm not going to cut much at all before we're going to clean that thing up. None. This is a razor blade. You do not need apical pressure on this file. Okay, I'm getting it's bulky, it's not advancing. So I know it's going to be safer to put a hand file in there. Let's put an 08K file in. In this case, I am going to bend the file just to get it in the orifice. Can you suction here? Drop to the pull chamber floor. Great. Okay, thank you. You know, obviously as we develop shape, that orifice is going to become smoother to get into, but wow, the time spent on that was so well placed. My friend John Cotomy, who at least one of you practices in his neighborhood, he's the guy that taught me to cut the MB2 groove. And then he got carried away with the MIE thing and said, no, don't do that anymore. It's like, no, that works too well. I can't give that up. Okay, apex locator lead. We're long. No, we're exactly at length. We're exactly at length. See, this thing's actually really effective at moving stops accurately, too. Okay, now I'm going to move away from the reference point, and I want this to work a little bit. I need to loosen things up. I wouldn't mind if I got a little bit patent here. And after like 3 or 4 pulls, all of a sudden it loosens up. Now it's easily patent a millimeter. All right, let's see what we can do with a 10. Did I give you the length? I did, it's on that stop. I didn't move the stop.
It is.
I don't think. Okay. Now just looking at these little marks, that's 18, 19, 20, so we're at 21 in this canal by the palatal cuss tip.
And that's
That's the MB2. Now I'm going to see if I can get this little guy here to do the same thing.
it's at 21.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Isn't that cool? Every time that little guy turns on and off, it's kind of a toy, you know, the little toy thrill. Like, oh, that's so clever. Like the only reason you put up with Apple, right? They got those little clever things. Like, I hate it when it's not clever.
What file is that that you're using?
This is the 1306. Yep, almost there. Right. Now, if this MB2 was closer to the MB1, and I know it's connected up to the MB2 with isthmuses, I might choose not to put a file in there. But these things are so far apart. They're like 7, 8 millimeters apart. I've got to have some of this sonic energy going down both of these paths to have a chance at cleaning all the way to the inside. We'll talk more about that. I've got some video to show you on a new research block. Can I have a new file? Okay, so here's the best way to avoid breaking files. The first time you have that thought, I wonder if this file could break, that means you need a new one. It sounds really silly and simple, but we always have that little conversation in our heads like, I wonder if this file could break. No, it's not going to break. It's a brand new file. We brought a new file in for this case. It couldn't break, not realizing it's already been beat to death in the MB1 and the DB, and now you're going to try and get it to lengthen the MB2. And we always rationalize it. One of my grad students at USC, Ernest Rillman, said, Dr. Buchanan, I haven't broken a file in 5 years of practice. I'm going like, how do you do that? I break one every 6 months. And he said, I finally realized that right before I broke every file in graduate school, I had the thought, I wonder if this file could break. Mm-hmm. So he made that rule for himself, and it's like, that's the most genius rule I've ever heard and used. And you know what helps you learn that rule is do live demos in front of your peers. You go like, should I get a new file? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'm not in the mood for humiliation today. Although that would be the best demo you ever saw, right? Okay. There we are. It's actually a ½ millimeter short of that. That's the MB2. Okay. So what did I tell you before? It was 21?
21.
We'd call it 20 and a half. Yep. Could I have an 1806 for the palatal? Here we are. This 1806 is not going to do a lot of work for many of these larger canals. I would like actually like a 2506 for this function, but we'll have that soon. And this thing stops within, I think, 100th of a second, so it's always going to find that spot more accurately than I can. Okay, length of the palatal canal is, by the palatal cuss tip, 20 millimeters exactly. There we go. Okay, let's stage it. So my general strategy with gentle wave is I'm going to cut this shape to length. I'm intentionally using files that are smaller than the terminus of the canals I'm in because I really don't want to do any preparation until I get all the junk out of this. This technique actually seems to amplify the sonic energy as you get to the narrower spaces because you see the vibration and the movement mostly in the most apical, most lateral regions, which is kind of trippy. We're going to show you some videotape on it while we're doing this procedure because it takes a while and it's boring, but it's effective, super effective. Yeah. Do you think we should bust this out and redo it? We didn't put alcohol in there, so we should. Okay. So we were having all kinds of trouble getting this stuff to stick and create a consistent seal. Some people are doing air abrasion on crowns. Turns out all you had to do is like scrub it with alcohol. When you use air water spray, you always have a smeared layer afterwards. And in fact, when we're looking for a calcified canal, you're looking for an MB2 canal, one of your best tricks is just use some EDTA solution and flood it there. It'll take all the smeared layer out, and then you dry it to chalk, put one drop in the mesial wall. As it goes down, the whole dentin blooms. And dentin without smeared layer on it, you can see through it a half a millimeter in depth at least, sometimes a millimeter because it's very translucent. But the smeared layer blocks you out more than you can imagine. I'm embarrassed to say I didn't figure that out until like 7 years ago. I've been doing it way too long to not get a clue sooner than that. So we're going to rescrub this. I didn't scrub it before I got the seal for the dam done, but I hate to stop and redo it. I'll take one more. And let's put a saliva suction behind there while we're trying to get this first part created. We can't have any moisture at all. Just for right now, okay? And then we'll take it out again unless you like it. It's a little obnoxious section. Do you have a plugger? Yeah. I just want to cover up that little lip that I need to get the seal onto. All right, there we go. Okay, nice and dry back there. Awesome. Not yet. I mean, is that great or what? 10 seconds, 5 seconds. Okay, so let's see the shield so I can show them this. Okay, so this is the little platform former. And you don't want to thin this out too much when you squeeze it down on there. Okay, hold that a sec. We come over here. Put a final layer on this little guy. The approved instrument to do this is the Perio Probe. So basically we have to make a custom gasket for each of these because we've got to have a negative pressure interior environment. If we don't, this doesn't work. If there's any air that gets into this, it negates the efficacy of the device. Because there's negative pressure created in there, and I'll explain that to you in the video that you see, we could be confident that we're not going to have any problems with hypochlorite. But I'm not going to be getting patent 2 millimeters out the end of the root canal underneath the sinus because I don't want any air coming in the end. If you see a bunch of air bubbles in your in the solution, then you know that your the seal is compromised. This may not come out until I get prep done.
6.
You know what? Actually, this little guy works. Is that 30? Okay. We need a higher RPM, don't we? I think a 30 or a 40. Let's try a 30. Sometimes you can get the sponge to wind out on these little guys. There we go. That's a trick taught to me by Ryan Facer. Always love to give credit for those who share tricks and techniques. Okay, I might still have some in there, but let's do the prep and see what happens. LA diamonds are nice for this because they keep keep it from overcutting the prep. I now have to cut this to not have any undercuts over the exit path of the fluids. All right, almost. Wow. I don't want to jinx it by making any too bold a comment, but that turned out pretty well. No, really, you got to stay humble. You can take, what do you say? You can snatch defeat from the jaws of victory if you're not paying attention. And it's like cutting a replica. You want slower RPM. Okay, so, oh, I got a little bubble there. Got to fill that. You don't want any turbulence affecting the exit or the escape of this. Let me just tune the distal first. That's looking pretty good down there. That's not easy with the whole missing wall. I need to bring it around more to the buckle, right about to there. You doing okay, Em? All right, you're such a great gal. Thank you. All right, we are just about good there. I don't like that either, so I'm going to put a little bit of sealant in there.
It's in your tray.
Okay, let's have a little filter, please. Yeah. Yeah, I've found it definitely pays dividends to get this little platform all tuned up and perfect before you decide to start pulling the trigger. I don't want to get it on this platform.
Do you need the platform?
Yes, I do, if you have it. Look at you. Yeah, I'm trying to rotate it so it fits in there. Great, I'll trim that. I'm going to put just a little bit right here. Do not want to get it in the canal orifice. Okay.
Do we need the shield again?
No, please leave the shield there. That's great.
I mean the platform? Yeah.
Nope. Okay, we're good. So it usually takes me 5-10 minutes to do the platform. That's all tuned up and perfect there. Let's get this last little line angle and we're good. We're done. Okay. So let's measure the, what are the other little measurement pegs? Okay, so now we need to figure out what is the depth from the platform to the pulp chamber floor, because I need to pick a spacer that will put the tip of this device at 1 millimeter above. This is the 8. What's the 10? Here's 10 millimeters. It's slightly binding there, so that would be too long. Here's the 9, 8. That's great. Okay. So this is a little ceiling cap. They come in different heights. So here's the the tallest one. It's hard to see with the regulatory label on it. But this is a 10, for instance. It's thinner than this guy because that's for a deeper pulp chamber. I'd say just from the way that I build my platforms, an 8 is usually the one I'm going to use. I found that if I get it too close, if I thin out that sound seal there, then it's more likely to leak. This stuff sets up very, very hard, so if you have enough mass of it, it will be more unlikely to come loose. All right, you have to be very careful to click this little corner first, and then back on that. You can see the clear lines here actually show you the mechanism of action there to some degree. I'll explain it to you as we go. We're going to do a leak check first. Okay, you're going to let me know if you have any sensations here. The only reason your patients will have any sensation is they're not numb. Okay, there's a vacuum here. If they're not numb and you suck a vacuum on a straw that's in there for 8 minutes, it's going to be uncomfortable if they're not numb. The cool thing is that 8-minute vacuum will immediately reduce facial swelling on certain cases. We have users who have had a patient looking like this, and by the end of the 8 minutes, it's gone. We have less post-op sensitivity because it's pulling the endotoxins and all the bad things that happen to be in the periapical tissues back up in the canal and removing them. It's a genius technology. It really is. I don't have as many as Mirzad, but Mirzad Kakpour, the head technologist at LiveEndo, did a really genius job on this. It's a very elegant application of technology. So what we want to see is that solution is clear and not full of air bubbles. And that's really nice because we see nothing like that here. And as soon as we get the leak check done, is there solution coming up the side there?
Yeah.
Is it leaking out the back? Mm-hmm. I think it's saliva. Yeah. So let me explain the mechanism of action. You'll see in the video. This is the molar procedure instrument effective tip. This is the mechanism of action. Is this little hollow tube has a curved plate on the end of it. This little guy over here degasses the solution, pumps it at 6,000 psi. It comes through. Let's see if I can get a close-up view. This is trippy. Okay. See the little slots in there? Those slots are like little tuning forks, and the plate that the solution hits at the end, this round plate, is curved, and it shoots the solutions back up towards the handpiece. When you shoot solutions that direction, it creates a vacuum behind it. That's what generates the vacuum. Also, simultaneously, the solution hitting this thing as it shoots the material, the fluids backwards, vibrates this tip like a tuning fork. And it's not just one frequency, it's multi-sonic frequencies, but that's the mechanism of action. All in one little piece of brilliant gear there, they accomplish all that. So I have a lot of respect for what they accomplish here, and it's changing the way we think about root canals. I've been pitching smaller canal shapes, and the fact that we need to cut smaller, the preparation size doesn't help us at all. With these, we're doing very, very minimal preps. Okay, we're at 15% through the leakage cycle. This is about a 1.5 minute distilled water cycle, and what it does is it checks to make sure there's a seal, and it also can be used if you're having trouble finding an MB2 canal. If I can't find an MB2 canal, I'll go ahead and stage a platform, do this minute-and-a-half routine, and then go in there and look, and I find them all the time. GentleWave has, there are many examples of it vibrating and removing broken files out of canals. Obviously, these are only files that are loose in the canal, not if they're tight in the canal. If they're tight, you got to pull them out with a device. But this will vibrate things and work them up to the access cavity cable surface. So we're at 98%. Now we're going into the first cycle, which is the sodium hypochlorite cycle. It goes for 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes. You get to choose. And so while we're doing that, can we look at the video, guys? They're going to do a little picture-in-picture for us and show a video and a research block that I created beforehand. Hello, I'm Steve Buchanan. I'm here with Eric Herbranson, my photography guru and good friend, who beautifully recorded this macro video footage in 4K, which you'll really appreciate when we go to extreme close-ups. We created this video.
LiveEndo's use of sonic energy to clean root canal systems is
by
brilliant.
my friend Eric Herbranson.
This mechanism of action works so well in the smallest, most apical regions of canals. The GentleWave procedure is changing our fundamental concepts of endodontics.
Lubricant solution.
The efficacy of multisonic cleaning puts the lie to the myth that cutting canals larger cleans them, as we know how it activates sodium hypochlorite and cleans the smallest, most lateral anatomy without any instrumentation. This molar is a case in point. CBCT imaging revealed the presence of an MB2 canal with its own apical portal of exit and several ladder rung connections to the MB1
an MB2
canal.
I knew was there. I knew it had
In an effort to
multiple
learn
ladder
more
rung
about the strengths and
communications, so I
limitations of
intentionally did not instrument the MB2 at all. Did the GentleWave, fit a cone in the MB1, and downpacked it, and here's what came out the other end. The entire MB2 was cleaned out of vital tissue as a vital case, and look at the mesial view with the CBCT. We've never seen root canals like that before. That looks like the original Hess research back in 1925. Here's a mesial canal that I knew was confluent. I intentionally chose not to instrument it, and when I obturated down the mesiolingual canal, it shot the material back up the previously cleaned mesiobuccal canal. Now, it's not magic, okay? So you've got to be strategizing this correctly. If you understand the mechanism of action, you can do that. But what we are seeing is that there's a new look. There's a new look in, are you okay? Great. There's a new look in endodontics that is more organic, more natural. It's more like the canal morphology hasn't been altered to clean it. But here's a C-shaped molar, one of the few cases I've ever had fail. And I've always thought, I wonder if it's that I just didn't use it for a long enough period of time. This was severely inflamed before it was treated. That's typical with C-shaped molars. I've got a really nice isthmus there. You can see the S-curve in the mesial buccal canal. Look at the distal. There's a little loop off of there, and there's a rich network of web form. However, it never got totally comfortable. So I created a research block that has an isthmus in it. We split the block and printed the two halves. The back block has prosciutto mounted into the little isthmus space. We glue the blocks together, and now we have an isthmus model with the tissue trapped inside. And frankly, everybody's done research on this, but nobody's looked at lateral cleaning ability of real intact tissue. And this is granted a way harder test than pulp. Pulp tissue is, I think, more fragile than prosciutto, but at least it's looking at the right thing. If we're going to put Jello in there and look at it, it's not going to tell us anything about the efficacy. So let's watch this block being cleaned by GentleWave. Here's the first distilled water vacuum check. And this is, I think this is speeded up 8 times if I'm not mistaken. Here's the difference between before and after the distilled water check if I was looking for an MB2. Because just activating the water, the sonic energy, is really an amazing thing. It won't remove pulp tissue, but it will remove the collagenous, condensed collagenous material that will obscure an MB2 canal. So now we're going to watch this work at 8x time. Here's the activity. You can see it's most active in the smallest, most apical portions. It's cleaning out the lateral canal in the apical third as fast as it is in the middle third. So back to the block. You can see it dissolving. This happened over a period of the first part over 5 minutes. And you can just see it shrinking back as being acted on. I'm sorry, that was still the water. I'm sorry. Yeah, actually, not much was happening there. Watch it at the rate that it goes now. I'm shrinking. The Wicked Witch of the West. And there's that pulp. Those are the pulp fragments that make teeth sensitive after you treat them. Those pulp fragments are why all those people decided they couldn't do single visit endo. They had to do calcium hydroxide treatment because they hadn't killed and digested all the pulp tissue. They weren't irrigating long enough. With this, all those 2-visit endodontists can go back to single visit and have the results they're looking for. Now, here we are at 5 minutes of hypochlorite. We're going to do, as we are now, we're going into the rinse cycle. I'm letting a little bit of air in there. Make sure there we go. And the EDTA doesn't remove any of the pulp tissue. So it'll remove the smear layer, but no more pulp tissue is digested for it. And this is why I theorized my C-shaped molar case failed, because I just didn't have enough minutes. It literally takes a certain amount of time to get the job done, even though it's at, like on steroids, it's at a hyper velocity. So really what needed to happen was to bring back in the hypochlorite on a second PI, and it only took half of the second cycle, and over the next 2.5 minutes, got rid of the rest of it. Now it's the last part there that's going to stay the longest.
Section? Recurring?
Oh, let's give you some more anesthetic. She was feeling it a little bit, so we're going to give her a little bit more anesthetic, and she'll be fine.
1, 2, 50, right?
Yep. We're getting close to the end. Yeah, it's going great. You're awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we're at 3:30, 3:40. Some of these go till 6. You never know. Okay, here we go. Yeah, no hands. Oh, by the way, this rocks. This is the DentaPen from Septodont. I've used a wand for like a decade or two, and it's this big machine that sits over here, and you have a line, and you waste all the solution. It's all right here. This is so cool. There's no consumables besides the needle in this, the cartridge you usually use. So it's all here. We're going to use a medium speed on this one. For the first palatal infiltration, I gave it to her on the slowest speed because that would have been mean if I hadn't. She's still numb right here. Are you okay? Awesome. You can see the syringe plunger here and how fast it's going. So this is like a medium speed. There's a slower speed that's drop by drop. This has a very cool little sub-routine. You can put it on the fastest speed for infiltrations, and it has a graduated velocity, so it just starts out drop by drop, and after it's numb, it just gets the solution put in there quicker for you. Nobody wants a long, slow injection unless it's necessary. Okay, so we're about 1/3 of a carp in there so far. I'm going to put the other 2/3 in the buckle side. Go ahead and section for me. Okay. Classic. Usually you're going to see enhanced bleeding after this. Close down for me as far as you can.
Take the rubber down.
Nope. You got it here. This is the fastest speed. Yeah, this is another really elegant little design. So the little guy comes apart here, pull this off, it's got a retraction mode, and you just put another carpet in there and you're ready to go. Okay, let's finish the gentle wave routine. We're just finishing up the smeared layer removal. We've got the last 25 seconds. And then it's going to do a 15-second distilled water rinse, and we're finished. Let me know if you're not comfortable. Are you okay there? Mm-hmm. Great. Actually, a minute and a half left. Now, the last cycle is the EDTA, so that is also part of why you're going to see a little bleeding there, is that it's an anticoagulant. But we found that another tip from my buddy Ryan Facer, if you use refrigerated 4% hypertonic saline, it stops it right away. Or you can just add caffeine. Go have a cappuccino, come back, it stopped bleeding. Well, you know, the first time we use this, it freaks us out. Is that uncomfortable? Okay, then let's stop. We're good.
Get the water?
Hmm?
The water from the refrigerator?
Yes, please. Let's take the. So I don't need all 2 minutes of that. Getting the smear layer off is really not the biggest challenge I have in doing root canals. Yeah, sure. They asked for the bite block. It's a mark of a great patient. Here we go. Yeah, we'll wake you up when we're done, okay? Okay, bite down there. Cool. Suction. Let's just take a look first, and then we'll put some more. Okay, you gotta check out how clean this is. This is like remarkable. I had never seen a pulp chamber floor that clean before. And you know what? It's almost stopped bleeding already by itself. NB2. Do you see it come out the other side there? Watch this. Yeah, so it's all one system. It's going to be really interesting to see filled. Yeah, actually there's some endodontists doing studies on post-treatment cryotherapy using cold saline like this. And there is, it's like just putting an ice pack on them, but it's in their tooth and periapial tissue area. Just cooling the roots actually helps reduce post-op pain.
That's cold saline?
Yes. Yep.
Do you need more now?
Nope, we're good. Suction. Okay, let's fit cones. I'm sorry, we're going to gauge. EDTA. I got a little ahead of myself. All right, now we're going to gauge and find out if I need any more shape than I've already created in these canals. We do it with EDTA because I want to remove any smeared layer that I create by scraping or cutting dentin. Okay, so our lengths in the MB1 we have 21.5. She's going to give me a 15 through 40 at 21.5. Here's the 15K file. There we go. Okay, this little guy barely slips through the terminus. I'm not going to put any more files in the MB1. We're good. Here's the MB2,
20
20 and a half. Same terminal diameter, it's binding at a 15. Let's see what the DB looks like. What's that length, 23 and a half?
DB is 21 and a half.
21 and a half, okay. Yeah, we don't need any more shape there. So all the small canals, 1/1306, and we're done. Let's, oh, we have an impediment there, so I need to bend the file and make sure that little guy's patent. Just that last ½ millimeter. There we are. There's the impediment just past it. And my file straightened out and it won't go around there anymore. Isn't that funny? Not really. Here's the bend. And it was patented to the mesial buccal line angle, as I remember. No, I can't remember which direction did it head out? In 10.
So 21.
Okay. I only need to make sure it's patent. I don't need to do anything else there. Just don't want to. I don't want to find out later that I had a little bit of debris floating down there, keeping things from getting obturated to length. Mirror. There we go. Yeah, so it's open. And the palatal,
Palatal is 20.
is this set for palatal?
No.
Okay. And I've had what, a 1306 in the palatal? Is that all? 1806? Okay, probably need a little bit more shape here, but check this out. I've got a little tiny terminus here too. Okay, so all these cases that we've been cutting, by definition, the small canals to a 35 and the large canals to a minimum of 45, what a waste. This already has a 2006 shape in it. So I'm not doing a diddly there. Let's get Peyton with a 20. Cool. Yeah. All right, we're ready to fit cones. Do we have more of the saline? All right, because irrigating with ETA solution is the opposite of coagulation. Right? It actually doesn't matter. We'll fit cones into it while we're waiting. So a 30, I'm going to try, see what a 3006 does in the palatal. Sure. It also quits bleeding while you're fitting cones. But I started things back up by getting Peyton there. Length of the palatal canal is what? Rear cone fit at 19.5. Done. Now, I'm going to downpack the palatal because this little guy is perfect at the end, but it's got less shape than that canal does. I'm going to want to condense into that. Okay, that was a 3006. This thing needs to be adjusted. Can I have another cotton plier? Thanks. This is a 2006, the distal. I'm expecting, since a 15 bound, a 20 will be about a half short. We'll try it out. Now these are the same feather tip points that you guys are adjusting. It's just that she adjusted them all. She gave me a box of 20s, 30s, and 40s. But same outcome. We're expecting that it's, what's that from? Oh. Yeah. I guess the genital tissues are a little tweaked. Okay, here we go. Okay, at right angles to the cone, slide down, touch the reference point, pull it out, lock the pliers, pinch the cone, lengthen the distal buccal canal by the palatal cuss tip is
21.5.
We're at 21.5. I want to be a half short, so I'm going to clip a half off of this. Okay, distal buccals fit. So it's really different than fitting sized cones, but it takes less time, right? Like two little insertions and withdrawals, and you're done. This little guy over here has a locking mechanism that's impossible to open. Okay, we know they're at least confluent somewhere in the middle of the canal, but we don't know if they're confluent apically. So we're going to fit cones in both of these. I'm going to leave the cone in the mesial buccal after I get it sized correctly. Oh, that is like massive tuck back. Yeah, you got to find a direction you can get, like touch the reference point. There we go, right there. Lock the pliers. Pinch the cone. Put it at 0. Okay, my MB1 canal length is what? 21 and a half. This is barely at 21, so we're going to hope that that's close enough. I think I might be 3/4 instead of a half off, but we'll see what happens. One more. Oh, you gave me this one too. Back. Normally I dread second molars. This is M. She's awesome. She's making my life a little bit better than it could have been otherwise. Okay, here's the MB2. Nice crisp tug back. There's no debris down there. Got patency. Touch the reference point, pull it out, lock the pliers, pinch the cone. And what's the MB2?
MB2 is 20 and a half of the pelvic.
Perfect. We're at perfect length there. Okay. Let's find out now how confluent they are. Here's where access precision pays dividends. How do you get that cone in that little tiny MB2 canal a millimeter away from the palatal? That's how you do it. You have a nice access. The only reason I know that is every time I fudge it, I pay the price. I'm just as lazy as everybody else, right? Like, no, that's good enough. I've already spent long enough on this. Like, okay, you want to spend longer on the rest of it? Cheat this part. Okay, it's binding short. We pull this guy up. This now should go to length. Yep, it is. Let's see what happens over here now. I think they're confluent in the very last half millimeter, so I'm going to cement them both to that depth. All right, let's.
Take an image.
I'm going to wing it. You guys okay with that? We're going to confirm with paper points. Normally, I'm a fiend about taking cone fit films. I don't think we have an issue here. It's so tightly constricted at the end.
And that's still saline.
This is still saline, right? Yeah, paper points. This is why you need 6 locking pliers to do molar endo. You need 1 for every canal because you don't want to be chasing that cone across the tray paper as it rolls into the next one. Ooh, we're going to have a cool isthmus in that mesial buccal, or that mesial, yeah, actually MB. have an accessory canal with this distal buckle. It's a little bit more heme than I'm used to seeing. One more paper point. I need a little bit of sealer right. Put it right there. This is liberates calcium hydroxide, which is a great hemostatic. So sometimes what we do is we just use the paper point with a little bit of the sealer on it. And it sets in the presence of moisture. There we go. Okay, sealer. You can't put the sealer in all the canals before you get the cones in there, though. You could have could get a little crusty. So okay. And prevent your cone going from full length to full length. Kind of big fat paper point. There we go, sealer. This needle's not quite long enough. With curved pulp canal sealer, it was always the best outcome was to coat the cone and put it in the canal with the gutta percha cone. It was very tenacious. It had a lot of stickiness to it, so it would carry down best that way. This, it's best to place it in the canal. You know what? Let's sear these off. I can't see diddly. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and sear these first cones off. I'm going to do the only condensation stroke I need on the distal buckle. Turn this way just a little bit. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to make sure it's there at least 2 to 3 seconds. 1001, 1002, 1003. Lightly pushing the gutta percha ahead. This is a 0.7, right?
Yes.
Sustained condensation force. Sorry for the pressure. You okay there?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Grab that. I'll take the heater.
Ready?
I want my orifice, I want the gutta percha about 1 millimeter below the pulp chamber floor at least. I want my bonding materials to be in there, ensuring the coronal seal. Okay. Palatal canal. I'm going to sear this off, but I need to do a down pack because it's a medium size root canal. So I'm going to just condense it here, but if I down pack that, I'm going to move material in the way of the adjacent canal. So can we irrigate this canal with some, do you have any more cold saline?
So it'll drop.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah.
Am I going
Just anything. Sure. You know, that's a little concerning there. Let's get the saline. a massive isthmus there. You know what? I'm going to run another cycle on this. I don't feel comfortable. There's something with the blood supply in the middle of those two primary canals. So let's go ahead and do the down pack and the palatal. I'll take an 08 plugger. We'll backfill that. We're going to put cool dam on the orifices because we know that they will seal. Make sure your plugger is straight and clean. There's a place here for straightening pluggers in the very back. Okay, and we got 4 canals. First one's done. Second one will be done shortly. We are coming down the home stretch here.
70 or 90?
This is an 80. I mean, an 08.
Yes.
Okay. Five seconds. I'm waiting for the double beep, which is 10 seconds. There we go. I'm going to work this out of there. I'm trying to keep, by the way, this will help because when you have the handle on here, you always put a little angle on it. If I put the force here, it'll come straight out. Okay, time to put a backfill cone in there. We don't have them. Okay, so I used an 08 cone. I'm going to use an 08 backfill point. It should fit in that space. Let's go ahead and confirm that. There's that little space. There we go. It's going right to the back, bottom of the space. That's excellent.
2.
Is it 70 or the 90?
7. I have the 90.
Have a 90 under standby.
Ready?
You can cut with the side of the plugger. It's really effective to sever the extra gutta percha most of the time. Heater.
Coming back with the 7.
I'll take a 90 if you have it.
90 ready.
Get out of there. There we go. Okay. And as gutta percha cools down, you can lean on it more. You don't want, the trick to dealing with warm gutta percha is you do not want to have it on the side of the plugger. You want to be ahead of the plugger. Actually, we've got to take some material off further down here. Oh, sorry. Sorry, that's on your lip. Okay. All right, I took the platform off already. That was brilliant. Let's build another one.
Can I start this again?
Yeah. Okay, and part of this root canal system needs a little bit more cleaning. The first 2 canals are all done. And the second tube should be done shortly. Can I have a 1306?
You can refill more water.
Okay. Might as well take a radiograph and see how the palatal and the MB look. Okay. We're going to take a little radiograph here. Let's take the block out. It's just too much. Here we go. All right. Cool. Let's get a little bit more of a distal view. Distal buckle's dead on. That could be a little bit long there. This is the latest view, I guess. Okay. Let's see. Is that the same view? Well, then I'm not set up right here. I didn't push multiples. Okay. Oh, I like that one better. Okay, that looks right on for the palatal. Let's see it from a mesial view. I love this thing. It's a self-esteem program for endodontists who educate. Look at my palatal canal. See, and there's that little tiny constricture. Yeah, oh my gosh, that is so cool. And the distal buccal had that little tiny apical hook right there. Looks like it might, I can't tell anything. There's too much anatomy up there, but that palatal canal had more curve than I expected. Pardon? Suction, yeah. Do you need to go to the bathroom? Okay. She's going to do the rest of Jill and wave because I do need to. Suction? Okay, so I need some an alcohol on a mini. Yep. Cool thing is, I don't have to have the, I don't have to worry about the distal buccal or the palatal canals in the making the platform.
You need another one?
Yeah, I do. This is to clean the orifices. I'm going to put a little drop of Cool Dam on each of these distal orifices. Section. I would use glass ionomer, which is my normal seal, but it takes too long to set. It would probably lift off the 12-chamber floor. I'm sorry? Oh, that was alcohol. Yeah, same thing we get the Cool Dam to seal. You know what? Let me put a cone in that. Cotton pliers. Thanks. There we go. Hmm? What? Speak now.
No.
Okay.
Do you want to put a cone in the other canal? Or you're okay?
Pardon?
Do you want to put a cone in the other canal? Or
I
you're
think unless I totally spaz, I'm going to be okay.
okay?
But you've seen me do that, haven't you? Okay, well, maybe once in a while. I keep trying to tell her if she knows what I need, don't ask me. Just give it to me. Yeah, just like, yeah, no trick questions. If you, same thing I tell my wife. If you know the answer to the question, just tell me the answer. Don't ask me to tell you the wrong answer, because I'll get it wrong. Yeah, that's pretty consistent. Okay, so what are we doing now? Building a platform?
Do you want to break your cotton with alcohol?
Yep.
And you're here. That's the other one.
Hmm?
Do this one.
Yeah, I do. Maybe not that big. Do you have a Perio Probe or see where mine is? Tried all the other Explorers I had. They just don't work as well as this for some reason. I don't even understand. Hmm?
3006 to remove the sponge.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
Careful with your high.
Mm-hmm. That's looking pretty nice. Okay. A little bit of a tune-up over here. Sorry. Okay, let me try the 9.
The 9.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a little bit shallower. I got it a little closer to the tooth. Yeah, that's touching.
With the 8.
Okay.
Do you want something small?
Once again, it's the 8. Mm. 5-second roll. Yeah, I physically cannot get a glove on after I'm sweaty. Hands, not even possible. Okay, how's that looking? Okay, so can we go forward? We have to do this.
The water.
We have to do the leakage test first.
Yeah.
Cool. Are you okay there? Great. And then we're just going to do the first half of the hypochlorite cycle, so another 2.5 minutes. These guys are so sensitive. It's just because I spent $50 million on developing this technology, but they think my using this extra one is a little bit insulting, but it's not. They do amazing things, and we just have amazing anatomy this time.
Yes, better possibly.
75% test. $90 and counting down. There's still distilled water. Okay, hypochlorite. And you saw in that video, nothing happens, even with the distilled water, nothing happens to the pulp tissue until there's hypochlorite in there. EDTA doesn't do anything to remove the pulp tissue. There's only one thing that removes pulp tissue, and that's hypochlorite. If we do negative pressure irrigation, the same research model, instead of 10 minutes or 7.5 minutes, which this takes, it takes more like somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes to get the same effect. Okay, we're at 40 seconds, counting. That's 1 minute. Whoop. I may have lost seal there or just tipped the handpiece. Let's see. Yeah, we're cool. On lowers, it's harder to keep this thing because their jaw can move. We might be losing a little bit of seal there. Yeah, I think we're done for this trip. We got another minute in. Yeah, we've got to leave. Okay, nothing else is happening. This entertainment segment is over. Thank you. Yeah, I probably thinned it out too much. Okay, saline. Blocked. Good. Weirdly enough, you really want to see bleeding. There are some retreat cases that you don't get bleeding and you worry like, is there any vital tissue down there at the end of the root canal or out the end? Okay, we're not getting bleeding in the isthmus. That may come before we finish, but I think we improved the situation. Let's dry canal. Yeah, Emily, you brought such a cool tooth in. Nobody will be impressed at a party when you tell them, like, I have great endodontic anatomy, but you'll always know that. You'll have that. Do the bite block now?
I have it.
Okay, let's do that. Last two canals.
What's that clamp, the rubber dam clamp called?
This is
I
a.
mean the frame.
Oh, the frame. It's in your product supply list.
Okay.
I can't remember the name. It's made in Germany. You can buy it from Colte and Weldent. Huh? Henry Schein, sorry. Yeah. So I'm going to downpack both of these guys because, we've got a lot of anatomy in there. I expect it won't be easy to to get filling material pushed. Even this really flowable stuff has really low surface tension. Aren't you glad I cut that little groove? Jeez, that would have been a nightmare otherwise. Okay, I'm going to take a little drop of that sealer. We're going to use it like we did last time. I munge the tip of it. Okay, here we go. Need a little bit more here.
More so.
All right, we're just about there. I'm going to smith the MB2 first. Okay, sealer. Did that just come out from some other part of the root there? I think it did. Here's the MB2. Cone. And I've yet to seen it go to the end of the, not go to the end of the root canal. The first time. With pulp canal sealer, you always had to put it in twice, where it didn't really go to the end. Grab it a little bit shorter because it's not easy to get around the corner there. Okay, sealer.
Medium flubber.
I'm going to take an 06. But let me condense these first.
With the hand.
Sure. Put a 6 in there. We're good. Okay, if you shorten that, you're going to pull, you either won't get the cone out or you pull the whole cone out with the butt end you're trying to cut off there. Okay, this is an 06 plugger. We're going to do a short down pack in the MB2. Well, that's why these don't last as long. If you buckle them like that, then they are shorter in lifespan. I need a new one. Yeah. Do you have the backfill cones? You have them? Okay. Okay. sealer. That was an 06 cone, right?
Yes.
Well, it wasn't much of a backfill down pack, so let's just fold the material in there. Plugger. This is 70.
Yes.
And here's a 60. I have a 50 ready for me. Heater.
Fifty.
50. And gut approach and move slowly, so a 10-second sustained condensation force will move it more than bouncing on it. Sorry. Okay, down pack in the MB1. Nice, we got some depth in that one.
Can you use the same cone?
Yep.
Fifty.
Yep. Okay, we're going to take a radiograph and see if we have a void in this MB now, but let me heat it up one more time.
Off center.
70.
Seven.
Do you have a 90?
I have a 90.
Got to purchase like trying to condense mud, so it's really works better when your plugger meets the diameter of the canal pretty closely. Okay, let's take a radiograph.
Take another one.
What's going on?
Might be out of sensor.
Hmm?
Take another one.
Oh, now it took one. I was what?
Probably was out of the gases sensor.
It's got to cool down. It didn't fire? Anything? Okay. Jeez. I'm just trying to build a little suspense. How's it working? How's that working for you? I'm going to take a shallow view. This measle view is not helping out. There we have it. No backfill voids. We can't see anything up there until we get all the post-ops and the CT. But the root canal's done. Yeah, we're gonna put a little glass ionomer in at the orifice level, and then temporize it.
If you used your warm gutter per channel in this backfill, you would have been worried about voids. Is that why?
No, I would have been worried about not pushing enough sealer through the mid form. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay. Air abrasion is amazing. You don't use this now in your operative press. This is so cool. Unfortunately, the mirror is surfaced, so you get like a bad image through it. It's a double image sometimes, but it won't scratch. These are the guys that invented it. Crystal Mark. This was originally proposed, this technology was proposed to be a replacement for slow speed preparations, and the Borden air turbine came out right as they were popularizing air abrasion, and that was it. It lost. Okay, let's put some glass ionomer in there. No, we're going to put glass ionomer, and then we're going to put a temper in, because we are not going to bore these people. I'm not going to show a restorative dentist how to do a build-up. Plugger?
90 or 70?
70. One little spot. This is Boco's IonoSeal. It's a glass ionomer composite hybrid, flowable, dual cure. I like to seal the pulp chamber floor and the orifices with this. bunch.
Right. Do you need another one, Doctor?
No, this is perfect.
You typically do the definitive build-up?
It depends on the case, the patient and the referring doc. If the patient referred themselves to me, I do it. If it's a referring doc that likes to do the buildup and they do a good job, great. Do you have
They're in your white tray.
this guy?
The white tray from Fox's setup.
Pardon?
The
Oh,
down.
okay. This is Tempet.
Template.
They have two kinds. One of them doesn't really set up. The clear one, I think, is the one that sets up better. Yeah, this guy. The other one sets up after you leave. They leave, kind of like Cabot. Okay, best part coming up right now. Nobody's ever argued with me on this. So she had her tooth open for 24 hours, 48 hours? Was it yesterday or the day before? I can't remember. Okay, yeah. I know, your jaw's got to be totally trashed. You were amazing. No pre-meds. I'm a big fan of them. She didn't need them. Here we go, close down. Tap, tap, tap. Grind right and left. Open. We're good. Okay, your gum's a little sore from grabbing that poor tooth with a big old clamp. Let's see if this is not sharp. Let's reduce the occlusion. Okay. Hey guys, a round of applause for our awesome patient. They love you. Okay. We're going to snap a 40 by 40 and then we're going to go over and look. I'm going to show you how we look at CT imaging. It's really, it's a different thing. But first we're going to get the post-op images so we can see this a little bit more clearly. I think we're going to see some pretty significant stuff. Here's the MB1 and 2, two separate portals of exit. But I see it looks like it's totally connected right up in there. We'll see that in the CT. You're welcome. So it's going to be really important that you get a crown on it.
Yeah.
Dr. Montgomery's going to do that for you, I think. Great. And he'll do the build-up as well. So I would give it a couple of weeks, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, so we're get the final pictures here. You've got, okay, head back. So for upper teeth with film holders, you have to put a cotton roll between the tooth and the bite stick because most everybody's palate isn't deep enough to not have this thing go like this when they bite down on it. So the sensor is on their palate, and then they bite down and it tips it, and now you're foreshortening all the buccal canals. You can't see what they really look like. So put a cotton roll in there that drops us from here down to horizontal. The more of these images you can take at a horizontal plane, the more accurate your buccal readings will be. Oh, nice. They don't all come out that great, you know? Okay, let's get a more distal view. You can see the glass ionomer. Okay. There's a connection up there. I think we're probably, take a mesial view now. Let's see if we can superimpose the MB 1 and 2. That was a little bit too mesial. And let's get the sensor back just a taste more. Oh, you guys, this is such a good case for you. They're all different, you know. It's just random, but this was nice. That's it. There we go. So there's the palatal root separating off from the MB1 and 2 right about here. Here's the distal buccal, has its own little exit point. I'm proud of that. Okay. So let's hang here while they go take the scan. Any questions about the case? Okay, so if I don't, right, so is it fair that I use this and show you a way that you're not going to use? So what we're going to do is tomorrow morning we'll start the morning off by, you're welcome, take care. We're going to start the morning off by looking at the video that I have on non-gentle wave irrigation. You're going to understand a lot more about it. Basically, the answer is time and negative pressure irrigation. So what we would do is she would have been here for 40 minutes. I wouldn't have seen her for that time. She would have come in with a negative pressure irrigation needle, put it to the end of each of the canals as she filled the axis cavity, and as it suctions, it goes down and then disappears in the canal, and you add it up until you're done doing that for a minute, then you go to the next canal, do it, and you do that in each of the 4 canals once every 5 or 10 minutes, and in 40 minutes, you're good to go. Is it going to be as clean as with this? Maybe not, but it turns out that you can't speed this up any more than a certain amount, and the same thing is true of passive irrigation. It just takes a little bit longer. Doesn't cost you $80,000 either. Those little negative pressure irrigation needles are, I don't know, I think they're $10 or $15, $20 a case to do negative pressure. And the great thing about negative pressure irrigation, from my standpoint, aside from the fact that it's really efficient at getting this fresh fluids to the end of the root canal, is you don't have to do it. You guys shouldn't have to do irrigation. That's like, you're not using your talents, and there's nothing clinically challenging about that if you have negative pressure. Positive pressure, that's a whole different thing. I wouldn't let an assistant put a needle to the end of a root canal and push on a plunger. They can use a curved monoject, you know, one of those big plastic needles that only fits in the axis cavity. You can cut a dummy rubber gun at Perio Probe, and so they fresh the solution in the pulp chamber and just go 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's even research showing that this is an effective technique for exchanging solutions at the end of the root canal. I would not have opened these canals up anymore. Now that I know what I know, negative pressure irrigation will still clean root canals out. You don't have to get the needle to the end of the prep. That's where you're going to see it when I show you the video tomorrow. It turns out that there's an effect about 2 millimeters ahead of the needle. So if you're 2 millimeters back in a 20-06 shape, you're good. If you have a 20 at the terminus, a 30 will fit 1.5 millimeters back from there in an 06 taper. Okay, so we take a 80 by 100 scan so that we get all their teeth in the pre-op scan. At least every 10th patient has at least one or more undiagnosed sites of pathosis in their jaw, so that pays my CT scan bill every month by itself, let alone all the other advantages. If they can't afford it, I just run the machine for free, because I'm not going to go into the case not knowing as much as I can. Patients don't want to pay for a diagnosis and treatment plan. They don't mind paying you if you run a machine. It's a totally like, look, my brain is more expensive than that machine out there. When I operate my brain, I should be getting paid top dollar. You never get a better deal than great diagnosis and treatment planning, because you can be the god of procedures, but if you're doing the wrong procedure, it doesn't really help. And somebody that's conservative and not trying to upsell you, that's somebody that's providing a value. But once you charge for a CT, everybody seems fine about it. So it actually, all of a sudden, you're getting paid for your diagnoses more along the lines of what you're worth. Okay, so let's see if that has, oh. Okay, so she's setting it up. Come on over, let's see, let's watch this. So if we're taking intertreatment or post-ops or recalls, which we do for all of them, we're going to take a small volume. So 40 by 40, it gets about 3 teeth in one arch. You have to aim it first. This is the Merida R100. This is the best machine for the money you can buy. It fits in a hallway. There's no radiation 4 feet away from that. It only does 180, so there's a little bit more artifacting, but the price, I think you can buy them for $65,000 now. You can always get $20,000 off a Merida machine, and you'll pay more. In 10 years, you'll have to buy a $10,000 sensor that these guys' sensor doesn't break. So if you're gonna buy one, and you're gonna use it for endo, because who was it that said they have one, they use it more for endo than implants, right? The resolution is huge. So like a Galileos, those things have no resolution at all. Those are for implants, and they're for oral surgeons. This is the tightest beam that you're gonna get. If you talk to cone beam CT and imaging people and they say the word focal point size, that's how you know they're lying. Okay, when they say focal point size, it doesn't mean diddly. It's a measurement that you can use that doesn't directly correlate to a tighter image, because there's so many other things. One of the things is when you run this thing, there's a vibration harmonic that happens in it if it's not really a rigid structure. The care stream, they vibrate. You don't get as tight a beam from that. Even if the software is perfect and the sensor is really tight, if this thing slightly vibrates during it, you're gonna miss out on a lot of the resolution. So I've used their machines since, gosh, for 15 years. Come over here. You can see it's like it's taking a X-ray movie loop of it. So it's just snap, 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 snap all the way around, and then it is gonna reconstruct it. Come on around here so you can see. Okay, Emily, post-op instructions.
Yeah.
Your tooth's supposed to be sort of biting pressure,
Okay.
but it shouldn't be too bad because you had the little venting for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Naproxen's your best friend for that, the Aleve or the ibuprofen.
Okay.
And we gave you a dexamethasone for today.
Yeah.
We give a steroid on the day of the procedure. Okay, before we start, we give them 2 dexamethasone, and then we give them 1 every 2 hours until they finish their day. The next day, they're on non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. So, Maria, can you take her? She's had enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll send a treatment report to Dr. Montgomery.
Okay. Sounds good.
Such a nice gal. Obviously treated by an excellent pedodontist earlier in her life. All my patients with phobias got mistreated by a dentist. Okay, so you want to set the brightness and contrast at about 1/3 up from the bottom and underneath the peak of this hysteresis curve, and then you're going to dial the brightness in after that. That gets the contrast right. Okay, so here we see, here our pulp chamber, unusual access shape.
There's the MB2. Let's look first at the axial view because that's pretty fun. Let's make sure this is upright. Click that off, click that off. Okay, here we go. The other way. Nothing yet in the mesial. There we go. We have a little bit of it spreading a little bit here. I expected to see something. Let's look at it from the reverse. Well, we'll go all the way down here. There we go. Okay, so there's a little communication between there. I'm going to look at it from the mesial. We'll see something more interesting, I think. And here they are, all three of them lined up. So I put it on the MB1 root apex. Tip it this way, and then I can rotate it axially and rotate it around that canal, and there we go. There's the MB2. Here's that little weird thing in between, and it has 2 or 3 little openings right at the very end. The palatal. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So it did had 2 separate portals of exit. I submitted a cone there, and I submitted the cone there. Here is showing the palatal terminus, little lateral canal right there. Almost can't see it. Of course, we make that up all the time. If your endodontist says there's a lateral canal and you can't see it, it might be one or might not be one. Okay, but actually we're getting a better view of the mesial. There's some anatomy over there. Here's the distal buccal. Let's go move the cursor over there. Straighten it up this way. Oh, that's nice. Distal buccal, a little surprise package. I think there's a little tiny lateral canal there somewhere. So I like putting the cursor on the canals and then spinning the whole tooth around it because you see stuff you'll never see otherwise. Oh, and then put it on sharpen. It looks a little bit cooler. Yeah, there's 2 portals of exit in the distal buccal. 1, 2. There's the MB, 1, 2. See, there's 3 openings. 1, 2, 3. That's the MB by itself. Anyway, I don't know. I find there's the best view of the lateral canal. So you got to take them before, during, and after. If I can't find an MB2 canal, and I'm 2 millimeters above the pulp chamber floor. If we've run out of time, my last thing is I'm going to take a CT scan of that patient because I can see the trough I've cut, I can see where the canal is, and when they come back in here, it's usually 30 seconds and I'm in there, where I've been struggling for like a half an hour and worrying about perforating and not exactly sure where I am. So taking intra-treatment as well as post-op is awesome. And there's 0 radiation risk, 0. Like you get more radiation flying from New York to LA than you do one of these. So, and unfortunately, patients haven't been made paranoid by the press yet. I'm sure they'll get to us sooner or later. All right, you guys. It's beer 30, so I'll meet you back there. Let's have a little appetizer. How'd that go, you guys? Hello, my name is Steve Buchanan. My career has given me the wonderful opportunity to design and engineer some of the most widely used products, tools, and techniques in endodontics. I've trained thousands of dentists to successfully perform, at a very high level, root canal treatment that delivers predictable success.
Good? Okay. This one will be with sound. This is an excellent case. We had really unusual MB anatomy. I'm very glad that we got an extra minute of time in the MB root canal system. I think it couldn't hurt. It was very complex and a broad isthmus space between there that could have harbored a lot, and I think it did harbor a lot of pulp tissue. This is a vital case. The distal buccal had a little tiny hook at the end. We're dead on within a ½ millimeter in each of the canals. Nice dense backfill, no backfill voids. We will post the post-ops and the CT slice views that show exactly what happened in the next day or two. So again, thank you for joining us, and I'll see you at the Apex.
Hello, my name is Steve Buchanan. My career has given me the wonderful opportunity to design and engineer some of the most widely used products, tools, and techniques in endodontics. I've trained thousands of dentists to successfully perform, at a very high level, root canal treatment that delivers predictable success. So it is with pride that I introduce the next evolution of dental education laboratories, our training side, and dental engineering laboratories, our product development side. These are now becoming the new brand dedicated to inspiring dental excellence, DE Labs. These missions are very coherent, as my entire objective in design and development of advanced instruments is that they can be applied with simple techniques to perform complex procedures. While human anatomy is constant, the technology we use to address that anatomy is constantly changing. Because of this ongoing challenge of dental practice, DE Labs is committed to creating new, more effective methods of hands-on training. What do I mean by that? I'm talking about our high-tech training facility and live demonstration theater in Santa Barbara. I'm talking about our internet broadcasts of my live patient demos when literally thousands of dentists watch me perform root canal procedures on a real patient in real time. I'm talking about inventing 3D printed procedural training replicas of authentic human anatomy so dentists can learn hand skills iteratively and definitively without involving humans or human parts. True Tooth and True Jaw 3D printed replicas from real human anatomy provide a realistic hands-on experience and control the learning objectives to allow the clinician to achieve mastery of a specific challenge with routine practice. And as inviting as a financial savings may be, remote hands-on training has the undeniable advantage of training in your office with your assistant. The other side of this new DE Labs brand is disruptive product development, and I'm very proud of what our crew has recently come up with, our new legacy collection of conventional and surgical endodontic hand instruments. The uniquely designed signature handle for these instruments has been crafted to allow an effortless end-to-end flip while providing a dynamic. The pluggers are easily identifiable with ISO colored rings. Our product collections are designed and curated with a system-based priority underlying a range of specific tools for specific procedural steps. Each legacy instrument and procedural set was designed with clinicians in mind to remove every tool-related frustration in their experience of treating root canals so clinicians can focus on the anatomy. Welcome to the legacy of dental excellence.